So for the last few days, I've been riding this, the Indian Motorcycles FTR 1200 R Carbon Edition. Now I've got all those R's the right way around, I think. Now this is the latest updated version of the FTR 1200. And I have to say, I really like the look of it. It's based on the style of the FTR 750 dirt track racer, which has been cleaning up in dirt track. But it's a kind of cross between the FTR styling and the Indian Scout, which it takes its engine from. And I wasn't sure how I'm going to feel about it, but I have to say, after a few days riding it, I really like this bike. So for 2021, Indian has updated this bike quite radically. Although the 123 horsepower engine is essentially the same, it's actually now 3 kilos lighter in terms of the weight of the whole bike. They've tweaked the geometry of the bike to make it a bit sweeter handling, and they've changed the wheel sizes on this one. So instead of having 18 and 19-inch wheels, it now has 17-inch wheels front and rear. And whereas previously it had some slightly sketchy dirt track style tyres to make that link with the FTR 750, now it's got proper grippy Metzeler Sporttech RR tyres on it, which, let's be honest, with 123 horsepower, you're never going to worry these tyres. They're a proper track day tyre. Now the bike isn't light, let's be honest. You can see it's quite long and it isn't light. It weighs in at some 232 kilos. But actually, once you get rolling on it, the weight feels quite light and it's way more agile than its specification might suggest. So to ride, it's all about the engine and that big throbby 1200cc engine that's based on the Scout motor, but with more power, with 123 horsepower in this form. Now it's very, very torquey, making some 81 Newton meters of torque, and it's also got riding modes on it. Although to be honest, I sort of ignored the rain mode, look at the weather that we've been riding this bike in, and rode it in sport the whole time. And actually day to day, that's absolutely fine. It's really clean off the throttle, it's not very snatchy, and it rides well. Now, it's not a sports bike, it's not a super naked, it's sort of a strange combination between a dirt track style bike and a cruiser, and it rides like that, but actually it's more nimble than you might expect looking at the length of it and looking at the specifications of it. So with Ohlins front and rear suspension on this particular edition, it damps very well on the road, especially for sporty riding. Although I actually turned the compression down on the rear, despite weighing 15.5 stone, because I felt it was just a little bit too firm. But that's what the Ohlins suspension allows you to do, just tweak it for your own riding style and your own riding ability. Now day to day, the bike is so nice and friendly, it makes loads of torque from 3000 RPM, so you can ride it like a cruiser, or if you decide to rev it a bit more, you can rev it up to a heady 9000 RPM and ride it a bit faster. So compared to its main rival, which I think is Ducati's Monster 1200S, it's not quite as powerful. I think that bike, off the top of my head, makes 148 horsepower. This makes 123. Ducati maybe handles a bit better, but that big, throbby Indian Motorcycles engine makes for a very cool, great-looking day-to-day motorcycle for riding on lovely sunny days like we're blessed with today. But here to tell us more about what it's like to live with an Indian Motorcycles FTR 1200 every day is David Braithwaite. David, so you've owned a host of different motorcycles. I think when we first met you had a R9T, you got a Triumph Thruxton R.
Yeah.
But why did you end up buying an Indian FTR?
Well, like you just said, I had the R9T, which I'd had for a few years, and then I bought the Thruxton R, which I was using more. The R9T wasn't getting used for anything really. We took a ride out one day, ended up at Chris Walker's place. I saw this, took it for a ride, enjoyed it, ended up buying it.
So what was it that made you think this is a bike for me, I've got to have this?
Well, I took it for a test ride out and I liked the way it went, I liked the way it handled. It's quite a tall bike for me, but the centre of gravity is pretty low on it, so it's easy to handle. It sounded great with a Remus can on it as well. I did have a long list of things in my head for an adventure touring bike that I wanted, and just for the record, this has got none of those things on it.
So now you've had it a few months, are you keeping it? Are you in love with it? How are you feeling about it?
I think it's taken me a while to gel with it, I must say. I would probably say over the last 300 miles, I've kind of got a bit more enjoyment out of the bike. The biggest thing probably was range anxiety with the tank on it. I was getting 70 to 80 miles out of a tank.
Hence the add-on on the back of the bike.
Hence the auxiliary fuel tank that I've just bolted onto the back of the bike to give me an extra 5 litres. I mean, the tank size isn't great, it's only 13 litres, not huge for a 1200 V-twin.
Thanks for watching, and for the full review, read it on Carole Nash Insidebikes.